we got to talk about this win, 5-0 for the U.S. men's national team over Trinidad to open up the Gold Cup. I'm joined by Hall of Famer Tony Meola and Mr. Syria himself, Mike Grella. Break it down for me, guys. Tony, give it to me first. What did you like about this performance? How important was this performance?
Important because there needed to be some good vibes around this group. There haven't been, so that part A+. What did I like about the performance? They did they did their job, right? They were better than Trinidad, but we have seen games like this in the past where we've been what we thought were 5 goals better, and we end up winning 2-1 or something like that. And so I think they've what we expected. They met that, and I think they should be happy with the performance, and they're going to move on to what I think is going to be the most difficult game in the group, which is Saudi Arabia next. Those two teams, by the way, Saudi Arabia and Haiti, play now. They're getting a start. They're getting ready to start here in a little bit, but some decent performances. It was good to see Tillman get on the score sheet and look comfortable on the ball. Again, we say all of this knowing that the opponent wasn't what it was the last 2 matches, but you need to start somewhere. Alex Freeman once again gets a chance. McGlynn was good. Diego Luna was good. I don't know that we had a bad performance in the team. So good for them. They move on in the Gold Cup, and let's see what they can do in this next match.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, for me, look, any serious team or business or anything you look at that's a really high quality, well-oiled machine. There's no drama around it. There's just results. It's bottom line. Today was that. Today was there was no messing around. It was serious. It was business. It was guys come off the bench, play really good second half as well. Good additions in the second half. Dominating performance, business-like performance. Pochettino celebrating on the sideline. So something I think that the U.S. men's national team needed and need moving forward. Put all this garbage aside of guys need rest and Pochettino saying this and that in press conferences and performances that are not good enough, and business-like mature performances. I think this is what they need moving forward, moving to the World Cup. Get on the same page, get going. And okay. Today, I think the big conversation was, I speak to Ivis before the game and say, hey, well, what's it look like today? And he knows everything about the national team. And he said, look, they're missing a lot of their best guys, and that's the conversation, right? They are missing a lot of best guys. But when this pool of players performs like this, grain of salt with Trinidad, that pushes the other guys to say, hey, well, we've got to come in and we've got to perform. We've got to come in and we've got to earn this spot. And I think it's important that if you want to put it this way, the A team, B team, the C team, the D team, whatever the pool, however you want to break up the pool of players, performs in this way every time. Performs in this way where press after loss, goals, killer instinct, knife in the hand, big performances. I think this is important to push the A guys, to push the B guys, to push the C guys, wherever you find yourself. This is a really important result moving forward. This is chapter of this Gold Cup tournament, chapter 1 of 20 or whatever you want to call it. Good step in the right direction, but have to continue. Just like we said, the first half was good. We've got to have a good second half. Did. Now it's the next game. Recovery, next game. And how far can you push this thing in a business-like, mature manner where the guys that are maybe not there now understand, hey, this is a project that's moving forward in the right direction, in the right way. These are the expectations for this team in the next World Cup. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something big on our home turf in a World Cup. And this was the step in the right direction, something that they needed after obviously the friendlies that were not good, the Nation Leagues games that were not good, so many games that were not good, so much drama leading into this game today. This could have been easily a trap game where we could have been having a really different conversation right now where we were saying, oh, man, this is disaster, hit the emergency buttons, not good enough. They only won 1-1, or they only won 2-1, or they drew. But they got business taken care of, step in the right direction, have to push this ball forward because you can't celebrate a 5-0 win in the first game of the Gold Cup a year before the World Cup, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
We've talked about Berhalter coming into a starting 11, Luca de la Torre Jack McGlynn, and Alex Freeman, young 20-year-old right back. We know Serginho Dest when he's fit and he's at his best, he's going to be in that position. Anthony Robinson, fit, healthy, he's going to be in the left back position for Max Arfson. But Malik Tillman is the one who's playing Champions League football regularly, the guy who's starring at PSV. He hasn't necessarily hit the ground running with this U.S. men's national team, and everybody was waiting for that one big performance or that one moment where you go, well, he's definitely a lock. And now we're seeing the way he plays with PSV is translating to the U.S. men's national team. And today, again, albeit with a grain of salt because it was Trinidad, but it's a big step in the right direction. He had a team high 20 passes in the attacking third, which means he's in the right spots. He's always trying to get either behind the back line, engaging the back line, creating more space for players in the attacking third. He had a team high 4 key passes. So I love the fact that he was able to blend, making good runs in the box, getting good touches with finishing. You got to get on the score sheet, but also finding the right pass, trying to unlock a relatively resilient low block in Trinidad and Tobago without the intensity and the quality. But again, you can't control who you play against. What you can control is starting the tournament off on the right foot. Trinidad, I think it was so important that they got that early goal, which they did, but to have a convincing performance where you can say, hey, we're putting all this crap behind us from the 2 friendlies, the Christian Pulisic interview, the all the noise around this team that is in a negative light. Now we're kind of changing their narrative on our own. And man, there's a lot in front of you. Saudi Arabia is going to be a challenge. But if they can come away with a convincing win and get to a Gold Cup final and raise that cup, what's it going to do for this team? What's it going to do for Pochettino?
Yeah, they needed positivity. That's what I said, right? And Saudi Arabia, for this group of players, I hadn't looked at their roster, but should be a really difficult match. This should be a real test for them. Haiti, I don't see it. I see it looking a lot more like this game we just saw, and then you battle from there. But yeah, I think that for me that we talked about the biggest pluses here. Tillman's still the guy that sticks out for me. He's still the guy that, as Tom Bogert said, he's probably the closest. Now maybe Matt Freese at the moment, but he's probably the closest to a starting 11 spot, right, in the World Cup at some point. So he needed something, and we've been saying forever, as you mentioned, let's get the PSV version of Tillman. And then, Charlie, you might remind me, who was it that we were speaking to in an interview one time? I think it was on Morning Footy that said to us, Tillman's one of those guys, like he needs something, like his personality, he needs some confidence, right? Like he needs something.
It was from Ernie Stewart, exactly from the mouth of Ernie Stewart.
Perfect. And I'm glad you reminded me. Could this be the day, like, where he says, man, I finally fit in somehow? Like, I finally got over that hump that I put the U.S. jersey on. I don't know. We're not going to know right now. But what we do know, that we might find out 6 months from now, a year from now, that this was the day that he finally got over whatever it is, his worries about putting that U.S. jersey on. And you can say that you can make the argument like we've been, it's Trinidad, but we don't know, but it could be. And that's exciting because, as Grella says, we all watch him, right? In Europe, we watch him play there, in European competition. And we're like, damn, man, the guy scores goals. He's the player of the year in that league. And yeah, we're like, it's a completely different player. Today, we saw a little bit of that. So that's probably for me, the thing I'm most excited about today.
But we got a special guest, Paul Tenorio, who was there live. He heard everything from the fans, the supporters. He also got to hear from Mauricio Pochettino after the game. Tenorio, tell me what you saw today. How would you describe that performance? And what is Mauricio Pochettino thinking?
Hey, guys. Sorry, I don't have audio of you, but I'm going to go ahead and start talking here from the mix zone. I don't want to say I'm in the mix zone because there's no live recordings allowed from the mix zone. So, look, the vibes at the press conference from Pochettino, I think, were what you'd expect, man. He was really, really positive, happy. I think mostly just to have something positive, something happy to talk about. And after the way that he said, look, I don't want to call it negativity, but let's be honest, it was negativity around the group after 4 straight losses. So to feel like you cut that negativity out, gave yourself a chance to be excited, to be happy, to be satisfied with something, I think is what his message was. And they were also really pleased with some of the individual performances. Like I'm looking right now, Malik Tillman's just come out for the mixed zone, and that's a player that Pochettino really praised in the press conference and said he's finally feels like he's getting to know Malik Tillman, and that Malik Tillman is getting to know them, the staff, and that's led to a really lovely kind of connection that's blossoming right now in the Gold Cup.
That is phenomenal, because we needed that to happen for the U.S. men's national team. Paul, can you hear us now or no? Nothing.
Hold on. I got you guys now. I got you.
Okay,
let's go.
You got us.
Let's go, Chuck D.
Let's go. Okay. So how would you summarize the performance today? You watching them live, who stood out to you? Who made the biggest impression on you?
Yeah, I thought it was a good performance overall. There were, you take away the positives, I think, especially in the first half of, I felt like the way Malik Tillman and Diego Luna, two guys that were given a lot of responsibility to lead this attack, played. Not everything, I'm not going to throw a blanket positive over everything. Like I thought Ajamong had a lot of opportunities that he wasn't able to cash in on it at a forward position right now that's wide open, a chance to win a job. And, am I convinced right now that Patrick Ajamong is better than Josh Sargent? No, I'm not. And tonight didn't kind of allay any of those issues. But overall, I thought, yeah, it was a bright performance. I thought you saw the effort from guys. That was really important. Somebody like Sebastian Berhalter, who kind of got thrown into the lineup because guys were sick, guys had a foot injury. He responded to that opportunity, I thought, in a positive way as well. So for me, I think Malik Tillman was the standout performer. Two games in a row now that we've seen him play against Turkey, and now today, where he created opportunities, he scored goals, and I think he's going to have a chance to play a role for the full team when they gather back after this Gold Cup. But I think he's maybe the more important player, the most important player of this group right now.
Paul, how does he approach this now moving forward? We saw obviously between the two friendlies there was wholesale changes, right, in that lineup. Certainly we're gonna see some changes, but do you think it'll be a mixed bag again? Because I think in general we're starting to feel, and we have felt that Saudi Arabia is probably the best test in this opening round.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see the type of rotation that we saw before. Obviously, we know what happened when you change 9 guys out and you put a lot of young players in the lineup who had never played in those moments before against a good Switzerland team. I think we'll see some rotation, maybe some guys coming back healthy. Like, could we see a Tyler Adams get put into the lineup? I think that's a possibility. Maybe some of the other spots where a guy like Ajamong didn't score the goals. Does it mean that there's another opportunity coming for another forward? Damian Downs is sick. Does Haji Wright start up top? So those types of tweaks and changes I think we could see. But, I think now we're at the point where Mauricio Pochettino wants to start finding his group. That's another part of this. Even if it's the secondary guys, who are the guys I can trust, that I can count on? And he wants to build something. That's another point that he had in the press conference just now, is you have to start building on the positivity. You have to carry over the positive result into the next game against Saudi Arabia and have another positive result. And it reminds me, like, he was so positive after the Turkey game, even though the result wasn't great. He was like, okay, look, like, we had the right attitude and now we have to be consistent. And then they fell flat against Switzerland. So he's got to avoid that. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 changes. I don't think we'll see a heavy rotation here. Get the result, put yourself in the right position in the group. And then, if you want to talk a little bit more of rotation at Haiti, I think that's fair game.
Grella, you apparently don't read the chat either. But I'm gonna throw it to you, Tenorio.
I'm next.
Yeah, okay. So what are we waiting for? Let's go.
Well, all right. I'll ask Paul a question. I think how much we talk about in this game. I think the biggest difficulty for us is analyzing the game was, they played against Trinidad Tobago, right? So, like, how much can we actually take from it? What will that test be like against Saudi Arabia? Because they're winning right now against Haiti. So this could be the next match could be a match for first place. So how much better is the level, and how much more can we learn from that second game?
Yeah, I mean, we have to keep in mind the opponents, right? And I think that was really important about the Switzerland result was, okay, no matter what happens in the Gold Cup, this is what the type of opponent you want to play well against, the Switzerland type teams. That's who you're really thinking about competing with in the World Cup. So when we measure some of these players, let's measure them as much or more based on that Switzerland game than against games like these. I think that's important context to keep in mind. I do think the Saudi game is the biggest challenge of this tournament. They're missing a lot of guys for the Club World Cup as well. They're not having as good of a qualification as this isn't the Saudi team that, went to the World Cup before. So, we still have to keep that in mind and keep those results relative. But at this point, I think it's as much about generating positivity and optimism as it is about the results themselves. Like if they win this game again, like tonight, 5-0, okay, let's put that in context. But really it's like, can you start to show something? Can you start to feel like we're building something here? And that's what I thought today was a first step towards. It's like, okay, you got a result. Now can you build? And for me, that's what the next game is going to be about.
Paul, did he mention anything, Pochettino, about Matt Freese? Is he the starter for the rest of the tournament? Has he made up his mind? It feels like with a solid start to Gold Cup and Matt Freese getting the start, it feels like that's who he's going to go with for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, he didn't commit to it for the rest of the tournament, but he said, look, I know what Matt Turner brings. And I think it's important that we see what some of these other goalkeepers can do and to reward them, not just in training, not just being here in the camp, but in the games as well. And he wanted to give Matt Freese the opportunity to do something in a game, trust when it counts, and to give other guys an opportunity. He said Matt Turner wasn't happy about it, and Matt Turner let him know he wasn't happy about it. But he praised Matt Turner for, being a leader still from the bench today and understanding what Mauricio Pochettino is trying to do. So not a full commitment for the tournament, but I think, at this point, Matt Freese, hold on to the job. Don't lose it.
Who do you want to see here, Paul, in this next game? Is there anyone sitting around? I mentioned Downs. Of course, he was sick, but I don't have I mentioned him because I don't have a profile on him. I don't really know much about him, so I want to get a peek at him. And then the other thing is, going to 3 in the back. Is it something that that they've worked at? Clearly, they've worked on it. How much maybe they've worked on it? And do you think we'll see it a little bit more? Because you always want that in your bag.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was more just about kind of the guys that were going in. I don't know how much of the back 3 is something that we'll see. I think it's something clearly that he's working on, right? To your point, you want to be able to have that adjustment in the bag for if you need it. But I think, he talked earlier in this camp about Max Arfson playing in the back 4 for the first time in his career. Obviously plays more as a wing back with Columbus. So, the mentality is like, okay, can you play left back in a 4? And I think that to me was an indication like that's what his preference is. But certainly I think when you have some of the depth issues and some of the strengths in the starters and Anthony Robinson, Serginho Dest in getting forward, it opens up that possibility of playing with 3 in the back so that you can get those players bombing forward without giving up too much in transition or in transition defending. So we'll see if that's something that they keep working on. But I think it is more of that of like, okay, we just want to kind of throw that challenge at you and see what comes of it.
What's funny is I think a 4-4-2 is the easiest formation to defend in. Like you think, oh, I'm going to add a center back, go 3-5-2. I think it makes your team that much more vulnerable in some of those wide areas because you feel like everyone has to get consolidated. Where 4-4-2, we see how Arsenal makes it so difficult to break them down in a 4-4-2 when everyone's well drilled, everyone knows their roles. 2 blocks of 4. I just feel that you don't necessarily need to bring in 3 center backs, although maybe you take off a striker, bring in a center back in a 4-4-2 situation. But hey, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from this particular group against this opponent in Trinidad to start a Gold Cup.
Yeah, this is what you wanted if you're Mauricio Pochettino in the U.S. Take care of business, 5 goals, feel good about it. Don't feel too good. Go to the next game and show you can do 2 in a row because let's be honest, the level wasn't great from the opponent tonight, but you try to take some positives, build on it, like I said, and stay atop the group, avoid Mexico early in the knockouts. And that's what this tournament's about, play the opponent in front of you. That's it.
How sketchy does Saudi Arabia look today?
Charlie, we just finished saying like, oh, Saudi's going to be a good test for them. Like,
I take that back. I take it back.
Haiti's got
Missing
big chances, like huge chances in this game.
missing a lot of guys on that Saudi team, but hey, the
Yeah.
US has got to go and take advantage. They've got to go and get the results and show. I mean, this team's missing guys, so is Saudi. You know, go get the result. Go show that you deserve to be a part of the bigger picture for, you know, a year out from a World Cup.
You know what I think is a really good point too is like, you know, we make all these points about like this tournament and okay, this opposition and all the Al Hilal players are missing for Saudi today and whatever. There's so many variables, right? At the end of the day, right? You're going to look at this tournament and say, how far did you go in the tournament? We're not going to look back 5 months from now and say, oh well, you know, we were missing this guy, we were missing that guy, and this happened. We're gonna either use it as or the U.S. is gonna use it as a building block and say, hey, we've been to the final, played a pretty good game, we won the tournament, whatever. But this is a building block, regardless of all the excuses and all the A, B, and drama and everything else. This is a building block. There's a tournament that can be a massive. It's primarily used for that. Where if you go on and win it, or if you go on and make it to the final and have a really good performance and say, okay, we feel better about this. We feel better about this group. But it's not going to be a tournament, I think, where we look back and say, oh, well, you know, all these excuses of why we made it here or why the U.S. made it there or whatever. So this is an opportunity, I think, in the next game, go on, get 3 points, go on to the knockout stages, play against the Canadas, the Mexicos if you can, really test yourself, and then walk away from that 6 months' time and say, hey, we were pretty good 6 months ago. This is what we did to be successful. This is what we didn't do to be successful, and take things away from it. But we're going to ultimately be graded on where we finish in this tournament, and that's going to be helped to move forward and going into the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Also, I think also we got to remember, like, national teams are remembered for one thing: what they do at the World Cup. And we spend so much time talking about qualifying, Gold Cups, Nations Leagues. It won't matter. You go to the World Cup, you fall on your face, that's how you're remembered. You go to the World Cup, you make a run, that's how you're remembered. And that's true about every single tournament this team has ever been in. And for every national team, that's what you're judged on. So you're right. All of this is building blocks. All of this is about putting a squad together to then go tell your story. The story of this team right now is what we're talking about right now. But the story of this team that lasts is going to be about what they do in a year at a home World Cup. Straight up, period, end of story.
Well done,
No
Paul.
doubt.
I just want to thank you for joining us again. We're going to close out. Appreciate you. Pretty soon we're going to wrap up this show in a couple of minutes. But Paul, always appreciate your insight. Thanks for being our ears on the ground. And we'll come back to you for the next match.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul.
See you, Paul.